Hello everyone, nubkeks here. Welcome back to Nub Raids. Path of the Serpent has gone live. This new hero's path. We're going to be breaking it down in today's video. It's kind of a short and stocky one. Relatively simple to get through, but the question is, of course, is it easy to get through? Is it worth getting through it? We'll take a look at that in just a minute. First of all, I didn't talk about this in the video yesterday. I didn't feel like there was enough to talk about. We'll just do it here. But we do have the Serpent Titan event on right now as well. I think there are basically three ways to do this event. You see, here's milestone 1, not much there. Milestone 2, not much there. Now, milestone 3 is actually pretty cool. An immortal soulstone, that's fine. But I think all this 6-star legendary protection gear is actually quite nice. Milestone 4, a few little bits sprinkled in, some nice bits like void, legendary, chaos ore, and then at the milestone 5 you've got fairly good stuff in mythical skill tome, 6-star mythical ore, and the 5-star soul. Three ways to do this. Number 1, just don't do any of it, or just do the events you're going to do anyway, entirely ignore it, and you'll probably pick up some small rewards but not much. I think option number 2 is going for 600 points. Remember, there's how many? Hang on, let me double check this. There should be extra points. They will have said it in the news. Go away. Tab in the way. Not the Path of the Serpent event. We want the Serpent Titan event. So here we go. The course of the event. Yeah, there's going to be 1,750 Serpent points total, right? So for milestone 3, you only need to get 600 out of 1,750. Not bad, actually. So I think that's a pretty good way to do this, is go for milestone 3. 3-star soul from Mithrala, pretty good. You get the 3-star blessing effect. You get some HP, some defense. The 2-star, giving her attack, is literally useless. The 4-star gives her crit damage. It's mostly useless. So I think the 3-star, that's a pretty good stopping point. This is like your much more budget option, which is like, okay, I can skip most of these events. Just do a few of like the dungeon events, some artifact enhancement, whatever. Do the ones that are personally easy for me. And I think there's a pretty reasonable way that you can grab this soul with very, very low effort. Milestone 4 to me seems pretty worthless. I think you're either going for doing nothing, you go for milestone 3, or you go all the way for milestone 5. And there's a huge jump. It's 600 points versus 1,500. That's a very, very big difference. It really is. You're getting some nice stuff along the way, but it really mostly is about getting the 5-star Mithrala split soul, which is quite decent. I think there was misinformation. They posted on their official Facebook. Someone linked it to me. I saw it. Their official Facebook said it was a 6-star soul. It's not. It's a 5-star. It's pretty good for Mithrala because of resist and accuracy. And she turns her accuracy into bonus resistance. So she sort of gets, I'd say, more out of the 5-star soul than most people do. So if she's a champion, might be using her in arena. I actually do use her in arena. So for me, I'm definitely thinking I'll probably go for this. So yeah, we'll see. But let's look at this first big event though, because this is a big one. The Path of the Serpent. In here, we've got 50. 100, then another 100, 200, plus another 100, 300 serpent points. So if you're going for milestone 5, if you're going the whole hog, you can skip 250 points. You cannot skip all of these. You have to get at least 50. Now, that's obviously very easy. But, that's the bare minimum if you're going for the full thing. Again, like there's, 300 points in here. This could easily be 300 points that you skip if you want to. I think that there's relatively little harm because you can do some dungeon divers and come in grabbing this force brew. These medium pots are actually quite nice, and then getting 50 points here. And you could do the same on the other side for relatively low cost. You might be able to do that with just dungeon divers or a couple of shards, and that might actually be worth doing. Let's look at the breakdown of this event. In fact, actually, before we look at the breakdown, just to clarify what I'm talking about there, this is basically dungeon divers and summon rush, effectively, is what it is. I'll break down some costs. I might actually add that in. I didn't have that in my initial paths. Let's add that in as like, let's go with a royal pink. Is it a royal pink or I don't know. Let's go for this. Could be like the cheap boys, the cheap boy path. I think that these are fairly decent. You could alternatively, you could just go all the way down. If you just care about points, you could just go down over here and just grab this. That could work for you as well. These are more accessible. So again, you can come in with not many points It's like less than 2 sacred shards, and you could grab one of these. Anyway, we'll put those in as a potential option. The main paths I wanted to look at, though. So Yellow Path. Yellow Path is getting all of the Titan points in this event. There again, like I said, it's a fairly short and stocky path, right? You don't actually have to go too far to grab these points, but the points themselves are fairly expensive. So the way it works out is it's 20,500 points on each side for 41,000 points total for the Yellow Path. You're getting a few of these medium oils and extract. I don't know, whatever they're called. You're getting some medium ones of those along the way. An epic tome and 600 medium coins, and that's sort of it. It's just getting the points. But that's the fastest way to do it. It's simple, it's straightforward. There you go. You could obviously go down the far right or far left side if you want, but much like politics, it's usually not advised. Next options then is the red path, which is really adding directly on to the yellow path. So this is going for the mythical skull tomes, right? So funny enough, going down the yellow path brings you basically the whole way. You want to grab the 2 keys, then jump over here, use the 2 keys to unlock the key lock. Then there's a Mithrala portrait, fine, and 2 mythical skill tomes. Technically, for this red path, you actually have to do basically all of it. You could skip this 4,550 points here. You could skip those. Because certainly, if you're expecting to go crazy on all the summon events and do everything, excess points don't do anything for you. So that could be, basically a sacred shard saved if you want to skip this one. But you would still get your mythical skill tomes. This becomes, again, very expensive. It's an extra 44,000, giving you 85,000 total. You could skip this 4,500, bring it to 80,500 instead, if you wanted. So that's those are those paths. And then I think another final option is this green path over here, which I actually do not recommend at all. But I was just curious of okay, what's the easiest way to get a legendary skill tome? Is that worthwhile? It's actually, I'd say, relatively expensive. 27,000 points for a legendary skill tome. This is something you could do if you want to pull for the shard event. We'll look at that in a second. And you're not getting enough points for other stuff. You are still getting 100 event points along the way. So it is an option. I'm not sure if I'm too keen. Let me know what you think about it. Again, it's very simple. Just go down. You could go down the left-hand side as well if you want. But yeah, I don't know. And then, like I said, you've got the cheap. I'm not really pulling any shards. I'll get some dungeon diver points and just grab 50 tokens along the way. So I think those are sort of broadly speaking your options. I don't know what we've really drawn here. I thought this one, it looks a bit like, I don't know, like a cow like a back view of a cow hunkering down and doing a weird poop. I don't know. Like something like that. But those are basically how it's looking. In terms of the cost, in terms of shards, to quickly mock some of that up, for 41,000 points, it's about 9 sacreds, 54 voids. You have to do a tiny bit of dungeon divers to top those up a little bit. For 85,000 points, you're looking at 19 sacreds, 113 voids. So a very large amount of shards for your 2 mythical tomes. That really is whale territory, let's be honest. You kind of need to be a whale or have very good luck to have those mythical champions anyway, and to have that many shards to spare to go for the mythical tome. So I feel like this is whale territory. This is something, I think, going for the 41,000, going for all the Titan event points, that is something that just even a low spend, even a free-to-play end game player could conceivably do fairly easily. So it's worth considering. The very big chunk of shards. This is effectively an entire fusion, more than an entire fusion summon rush event, really. It's like an entire sacred's worth of a fusion and a little bit more voids than you'd usually spend, but it's a lot of stuff. It's a lot. Let's look at the summon events that are alongside this. There are some. Is the game gone into maintenance? Don't do it to me. I took screenshots. We can look at screenshots. Okay, let me pause. I'll be right back. Yep, okay. Well, the game's down for maintenance. Luckily, I took pictures on my phone before recording this video. I was worried about that. So for voids, we do have Senna. Incensa, I think is their name. Demitha and Uragrim. They're okay. These are obviously 2 very new void legendaries, so that's appealing in the sense that you might not have these champions before. They're both all right. Incensa's pretty darn good for Hydra. I did a video on her if you want to check it out. So she's very solid for Hydra. Senna is quite weird. She's very niche, I would say. She might actually be quite good for like Siege, right? For dwarf only rooms in Siege, she could actually be really good. Um, so yeah, the voids is okay. I think it's fairly expensive in terms of voids, but it's certainly an option. It's certainly an option. Then the other one, we've got the sacreds or ancients or primals, but again, I'd be mostly looking at this in terms of sacreds. One interesting thing, Delaja is in there. I believe Delaja and I believe Ulfric as well. I think they are both part of the Lady Mikage fusion. I'm pretty sure. So if you are stuck, you don't have these epics for your Lady Mikage fusion, this actually is quite nice. And it gives us hope that Elisnya, who everyone is missing apparently, Elisnya might come back in a 15x event at some point. We can pray. Rector Drath is also done just one of the best epics in the game, so she's a good one in there as well. It's always worth having a copy of Rector. For the legendaries, you got a good selection here as well. Podrick, in my opinion, is probably the best one overall. If you don't have an Ultimate Death Knight, he's also super good. So they're both worth going for. He was a free champion before. Podrick was previously a guaranteed, so you might have them already. If you're missing either one, they're both easy lock-ins, honestly. Podrick, just generally super strong. Fire Knight, Hydra, even some Arena. Ultimate Death Knight, very Arena-focused. It's worth having both of these, so they're totally good to lock in, and that makes this event fairly appealing. After that, the others are like decent champs, but not crazy. Like Calvlex was a god at one point, but then hard mode dungeons came in and he's not so useful anymore because poisons really fell off, unfortunately. So the meta doesn't really cater to him. Great poison champion and damage dealer, but the meta just doesn't really cater to that very much. Badel, again, former god, one of the best champs in the game at one point. Again, he's sort of generically decent now. Again, not really thriving as much in the hard mode dungeons, but he's fine. He does have a spot on Trunda teams. Worth noting that in Hydra because he can put out poisons on decapitated heads, and his passive makes them take 20% more damage, which is insane. It's 20%. That's a huge amount. So he is very strong on Trunda teams. That's worth noting. Not as good as Gerptuk, but like a good sort of second best option. And then Withier, again, just does a lot of healing. She's very tanky. She's sort of one of the most infamous Gold 5 solo defenses. You throw them in and newer players can't kill her. It's very sad. I guess Ultimate Death Knight does that better now, right? But yeah. So it's a decent selection. It's a good selection of epics, I'd say, and there's some decent options in for the legendaries. So I think the voids, I'm a bit torn. Would I pull so many void shards for just a 15x for these? I don't know. I prefer to save the voids, honestly, for guaranteed voids. They're super rare, but they can be very impactful. So I'm not crazy convinced about these, and I think that they're both potentially, like, Incense is quite good. I'd be picking Incensa probably, but Senna, I've got that Frolny. Senna for the dwarf rooms is somewhat appealing to me, but I don't think either of them is like, Taras Marishka level of like, oh shit, let's go crazy for these champs. I don't think so. And over here, I think, like I said, Podrick, UDK, Podrick, UDK, and then pick your poison for the others. I think they're all solid options. So for Sacreds, it's not so bad. So yeah, this one, for me, I will probably go in with 9 Sacreds. Probably what I'll do. Maybe 8. The summoning event, good news as well. It's live right now. Remember, last week, they screwed us over super hard. They put the event for giving you points for summoning stuff live a day before the summoning event. So I think not unlikely a decent chunk of people would have summoned their shards day 1 for the event before the summoning boost was live and just screwing you out of your summoning boost, which sucks. This one, they've put the summoning event live a day early. So we've got many days of summoning events right now. So yeah, it's okay. Like I said, let me know. What are you going to do? I think for me, I'm probably going to try start the hero's path off and set myself up well to skip events later on, just be more comfortable. I think for me, I've got the Sacred, so I think that's probably what I'll do. Yeah, I think that's probably what I'll do. 9 Sacreds. Yeah, I think so. Anyway, let me know what your plans are. It's it's an interesting path, all right. I mean, like I said, some of the safer options, if you want to just go in low cost, you can grab just a few of these points and skip some of the more expensive ones, and you can do that much more cheaply. Like, you don't have to do the whole yellow path. You could do one side of it for 20,000, which is, you could do that for 3 sacreds and then some dungeon divers, a couple of void shards or whatever, like you can do that, and it's not so bad picking up some points. So there's quite a bit of flexibility, which is cool. But there you go. Thanks for watching. See y'all next time. Goodbye.